Bonjour, c'est Gayle avec BERNINA de Naperville. And today, why am I speaking French and wearing a beret? Well, it's because we've got some cute little kitties that we're gonna sew into a mug rug using the new BERNINA 3 Series machine. Now, this starts a new kind of fat quarter club. Before, it was kind of like a subscription. You signed up once, you got the package, then each month you got an invoice to make the project. And now we're doing them by project. So for instance, we're in 2025 and this is our 7th project of the year. So 2025, project 7. The next one we do will be 2025, project 8, and so forth. And there's no need to have an invoice sent to you. You just go to Fat Quarter Club, and in Fat Quarter Club, you just go to BERNINA of Naperville and search Fat Quarter Club, and there you will see a drop-down menu of all of the available Fat Quarter Club projects and the fat quarters that are available for you to purchase. Now, of course, our video and our instructions are always free, regardless if you buy the fat quarter package from us. And we decided to not do it monthly, or I did, just because there's so many other projects that we have to do each month. And sometimes it was just a little bit too draining on yours truly to get to the fat quarter project every month. So we'll have about 8 to 10 projects a month going into 2026. And hopefully, I'm going to aim to have something once a month, but it's just not always possible. You know what I mean? Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about our Club de Quatre de Gras. And I think that's how you say fat quarter club en français, but I'm not really sure. Let's look at the presentation deck that you can find in the description of this video if you want to see the cutting instructions and all of that. And I have an inspiration pattern and everything, so let's get to it, right?
Well, like I said, this is going to be the cutest project, and I really hope you enjoy making this. And I think a lot of you that have entry-level machines will really appreciate doing something fun like this. So let's dive into this presentation deck that you're going to receive in the description of the video or at berninaofnaperville.com under our Fat Quarter Club for 2025. Like I mentioned, this is Project 7. If you happen to stumble upon this video, no problem. You're watching it on YouTube. But if you want to go back to it after you download the project and you can't remember how you got there, this will give you a little link to watch it. So that we always include those in our interactive presentation decks. So we used a pattern that you can get for free. All you're going to do is simply download it here at the Catnap Mug Rug pattern. It is from Ruby Star Society, and you'll see in some of our examples, it is showing the drawings of the Ruby Star fabric. Now, we are using different fabric. Our Fat Quarter Club kit for Project 7 is a selection of Springtime in Paris from Dear Stella and Art Gallery Fabrics. And you can see the little cats with berets. And, you can see where I got my inspo, right? And if you need more yardage of this or whatever, I've given you the links to the exact SKUs that we're using today. But if you do want to participate in our Fat Quarter Club, all you have to do is click the link here. It's going to take you directly to our Fat Quarter Club, and then you're just going to search Project 7, and you'll see it right there. Now, some additional supplies. I used the new Bernina 335, and with that machine, I used my tried and true number 37 patchwork 1/4 inch foot that I have been using forever. I also am playing around a little bit with some freemotion embroidery on that machine, so a foot number 24 can come in handy. We're essentially using a straight stitch number 1, but I do use a triple straight stitch, which is stitch number 6. And then if you're getting a Bernina 335, listen, you just got to invest in that knee bar for the built-in freehand system. I'm using 50 weight Meltler silk finish thread. It's 100% cotton, and I'm using that in the top and bottom, and it's a hot pink color, and it coordinates nicely with my heavy 8 weight rayon thread that I'm using for the Bernina chain. And that thread is from Wonderfil, and it is called Razzle, and it is also in hot pink. Universal size 80 machine needle is going to be fine. A little bit of fusible woven to back the piece that we're going to do our machine embroidery on. I like the 505 glue sticks. I'm using a 10-inch by 12-inch piece of Insulbright that's got the little metal insulation in it. So if you want to put a hot mug of coffee down, it's not going to hurt your table. It'll keep the heat in. And a marking pen. And in my case, I used a white heat vanishing pen. Applique scissors for doing some trimming, rotary cutter mat and ruler, a darning needle, and then of course I recommend that you print your pattern because there's some little pieces that you're going to need to cut out specifically from that pattern. You're going to need the face, the ear templates, the arm template, and the leg template. So for cutting, you're going to need, I'd say to be safe, 36 2.5-inch squares from your choice of the fat quarters from this kit. I think in the video I say 26, but that's assuming that you're not piecing the legs and the arms. So just keep that in mind. So just cut up a whole bunch of squares, play around with them, and see what you think. And now let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get ready to embroider our cat face.
All right, so now we're gonna use that cute little Bernina 335 that just came out this summer. I've been just so eager to do a project on it, and this seems like just the perfect fit.
You're going to cut two 4-inch by 6.5-inch rectangles of your pure solids in this pine green, right? One of them, the one that you're going to do the embroidery on, is going to need to have the same size piece of fusible woven adhered to the back with a steam iron.
Sometimes when I'm working with a dark fabric, it can be really challenging to try to get a face on a dark fabric. So let's start with our heat vanishing white pen. So I'm going to use that, but then I want to make kind of like a stencil for the face. So what I'm going to do is cut some little flaps here, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. So I'm going to cut the eye, and I'm going to cut right along this little semicircle like that. And of course I printed this from the pattern. And you want to make sure you print it at 100% rather than fit, just so you have everything at the right proportion, because we are cutting templates from the ear, arm, and leg. Okay, there's our eyes, and now we're going to do the nose. And I'm just going to cut everything about this little black nose that's in there. There we go. So now I'm going to fold my piece in half. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw my little lines here to mark the center. Kind of doing the same thing with the face, right? There we go. And so I'm going to line that up here. And I think I want the nose to be right about there. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with this. And sometimes with these pens, the white doesn't show up until a few minutes. Okay, so there's our center and center. And so I want the bottom tip of the nose to be right on the center. And we want that to be nice and straight. So now let's draw our eye and our nose. And if you need to color in the nose, that's fine too. Okay, so now there's part of our face. And we have 3 little eyelashes on each side. I'm kind of freehanding these. Like that. And then we've got this mouth. And so whatever we do on one side, we want to do on the other. And these have little erasers on the end if you do something that you don't like. Okay. I tend to make my little characters with a smirk, but I'm happy with the way this turned out, and it's also important to put the cap back on. So now the first step in this is we're going to embellish the face, and we're going to start with the Bernina chain on our mouth. So this is going to be what I'm using for the Bernina chain, and that's the first step in our machine embroidery on our face. So we're going to need about 18 inches or so of this, maybe a little bit more. And we're going to start here and go to here, and then here and go to here, and we'll hide our little tails under the nose. So this is this. This is an 8-weight rayon, kind of like an embroidery floss. Then I want to kind of match my threads. And to have contrast on here, I'm going to do my face out of this Mettler silk finish. And this is a 50-weight cotton. And this is color 1392. And then this razzle is color RZ 39. Okay, so now that this is cut, this goes in the bobbin and in the needle. And this is going to be my embroidery, my piecing, my everything right here. Now, we are going to do a triple straight stitch along the eyes and a free motion nose with satin stitching and a special stitch on the machine, so you don't have to be afraid to drop those feed dogs. Okay, come on. Let's look at this new Bernina 335 that we're going to be using today. Okay, so the 3 series has a CB hook bobbin. That's the kind with the 7 holes in the metal bobbins. And when the bobbins go in, they go in with the little, like a lowercase b, like this. So they go in that way inside the case, like so. Then we travel along that little groove under the spring and pull, and it should spin clockwise, just like that. And then we're going to put this in the bobbin case with the little finger to the top. And there's a little cutter in the bobbin area. Close the door, pull the thread straight down. And now I'm going to put my slide-on tray on. There we go. Now, the 335 and the 325, remember there's 2 of them, but I'm using the 335 today. On the next generation machines, they come with snap-on feet. And this is the open toe foot, snap-on foot that the 335 comes with, but it also comes with this shank. And so that's how you would switch out the little soles. And you can snap them on while they're on the machine or off, like I have mine. But I am using my, look at this old 37 foot today, right? I'm using my tried and true one because that's what my eyeballs are used to looking at. However, for the chain stitch, we could also use the open toe foot. It doesn't matter, but if you're somebody that doesn't like to change your feet around, we can just use this patchwork foot for almost everything today. So I've got my pink thread, my Mettler pink thread threaded through the top, and I've got the thread in the bobbin. Now this machine has an external needle up-down button that's right here. So I can pull my bobbin thread up by pressing this button, pressing it again, and then pulling my bobbin thread up, if you wanted to do that. Now, I'm kind of doing something a little prissy here, so I'm going to be pulling my bobbin thread up through the top of my work. Now, another thing that I'm working on here is my freehand lever. This fits into the front of the machine just here, and it's got the housing in here. So the 325, which is the other little machine that looks just like this one, you cannot add this. It doesn't have the housing can't be installed. But I can put in my knee lever just here, and this, when I use my knee, is going to drop my presser foot and raise my presser foot. So I'm using my knee instead of reaching my hand back here to lift and lower, hence making it a freehand system. So I'm not constantly reaching, trying to hold something in an awkward way. I can just bounce my little foot up like this. Now there is a new foot control for these machines. It's not the smart foot control, so there's no heel tap on these. It's just a standard, press the toe part and make the machine go. So I'm going to be using my foot control and my knee lever, and I am right-footed. So I'm going to use my right foot to work my foot control and raise and lower my freehand system. Some people will use the throttle with their left feet with the freehand system. I am not one of those folks. Now let's turn our attention to our main screen. So we want to make sure that your needle is in the down position, just like this. And we want our straight stitch to be either 1 repeat or 2 repeats. So that means, see how short that is? So we're going to stitch just a little bit, and then the machine is going to stop on its own. So let's leave that just like so. And I had you cut a length of this rayon floss, and I folded it in half, and I'm finding that center. I'm lifting with my knee, and I'm gonna align my work here, starting with the smile edge of my little piece here. So we're gonna line that center up right where that piece starts. Then I'm gonna lower my foot right into position. And see, I like this 37 foot, this patchwork foot, because that small opening is gonna really help me align my little drawing there. And so if I wanted, I could use my hard needle button to put my needle down and my needle up again so that I can pull my bobbin thread all the way up through my work here. There we go. And now we're going to position that back under the foot. And now we're going to sew. And now I want to press and hold my quick reverse to go backwards. There we go. And now we're going to go forward again. And now we're going to crisscross over, lift the foot with our leg, and twist our threads in front of our needle. The machine stops. I cross over, and now I'm going to pivot to get back on that drawn line. Okay, now we could spin it back around and go back down our little face here. Just exactly over where I left off there. And now I'm going to leave a long tail, and with a darning needle, I'm going to hide all of the tails on the back side of my piece. Okay, so I'm going to take all of these threads, feed them through my darning needle. Just go a little bit past and pull through. And now I'm going to make a knot. And trim. And do the same thing through here. Oops. And you can see I did opt to use a little bit of tearaway stabilizer on the back of this. I'm doing that mostly for when we do the nose. Okay, so now we're going to do the eyes. We're going to switch our stitch to stitch number 6, which is a triple stitch. And I'm going to keep all of these settings the same. The only thing I'm doing is right down here, there is a little pretzel stitch. And the pretzel isn't going to make you pretzels, unfortunately, but it is a little knotting stitch that you can engage at the beginning and the end of the design. And I'm going to show you how that works. So let's get started here. Notice that I'm keeping my patchwork foot on, and I'm just going to draw with my needle these little eyes. And so let's hit the pretzel, and you can see it shows up right there on the screen. And then this guy is going to go forwards, backwards, forwards. And then when it's done with repeat, we're going to pivot. And I'm just following that line. Let's have a closer look. Now you can see I got to the end. So now I'm going to follow along and make my eyelash. And I'm okay with it being a thick eyelash. So I'm going to come back here. There we go. And I'm just over sewing. And now it's time to make this eyelash. Let's just finish this cycle and go back around. We have to remember that this eyelash has, it's a little bit longer. They've been using some lattice, I guess. Okay, there we go. And now this one's going to be 2. Now I'm going to stop, swing back around, and then over sew again our eyelash. Hit the pretzel button to secure. And now because I knotted this, I'm just going to lift my presser foot here, and I'm going to trim my threads at the top and the bottom. And there's my eye. Now we're going to repeat on the other eye. Now when we're repeating, just to get at the beginning of the cycle, I'm going to press the pattern begin and my pretzel, just like we did before when we got started. I'm going to trim in the back. And now let's do something really daring, okay? Let's do some satin stitch to create that nose. Okay, so this is another one of those feet that is an additional foot, right? But this is going to be a darning foot. It's going to allow us to move the fabric through the machine however we want. And it's open toe here. That's the difference between the number 9 darning foot and the number 24 foot. So I can really see where I'm going there. Now, this machine doesn't have stitch regulation, so I'm not going to be connecting a Bernina stitch regulator to it. And honestly, I'm not going to use that 73 micro stippling foot. It's just, for this project, this little guy is just perfect. Now, another thing that we can do on this machine pretty easily is drop the feed dogs. And that's what this button is here. So this button is going to lower those feed dogs right there. See how it's recessed in here? And see how they go down just there. So now that's going to give me so much maneuverability on the machine to back and forth on this nose. So let's have a look at the stitch we're going to use for this. So there's a stitch, it's number 30. And all it is, it's a needle penetration stitch, essentially. So we're going to press the foot control and the needle goes down and comes up. That's all it does. And then when I do that, then I'm going to move it. It goes down and comes up. Then I'm going to move it. It goes down and comes up. And that's how I'm going to create the satin stitch look. Also, just a little FYI, on the Bernina 335 and 325 machines, when I pick a stitch, it doesn't have presser foot recognition, but it has presser foot suggestion. And remember, I told you that the foot we're using is similar to a number 9 darning foot? Well, this one wants a darning foot, and this is a traditional basting stitch, but we don't use things traditionally here, right? But that foot, it's just a suggestion. Okay, I'm here at the nose. I'm going to start at the tippy corner just here. So I'm going to lower the foot and I'm going to press my foot control. And all it does is one stitch. So I'm going to bring that bottom thread up and I'm going to hold this gently. And now I'm going to do this again, just a couple times like this to anchor it. So now stitch, move, stitch, move, stitch, move, stitch, move. And we can go back if we missed a spot. You have to take your foot all the way off. You don't want to lay down on your foot control. I'm literally tapping this with my toes. This is a toe tapping exercise, everybody. And you know what you're doing right now? You're thread painting. And just keep doing this until you feel like you've got a beautiful kitty nose. And I'm happy with that, so I'm going to stop, lift my presser foot, and trim my threads because they are anchored down very well. And there's our cute little face. So now I'm going to take the stabilizer off and I'm going to press this to get rid of my little marks with my heat vanishing pen. And when you're taking stabilizer like this off, this is like a medium tearaway, you want to kind of rip into your work. And you don't have to get every last little chunk of it away. You just want to get the bulk of it. I think that's good enough. Okay, so there's our face. So now we're going to take these two pieces and put them aside, and we're going to concentrate on those squares that we cut. And I've cut way more than we need, so let's build 2 9 patches. So of course I've got to have that cute little guy with his beret. He's adorable. And then I don't want to give a whole lot of thought to how these are going. I'm trying my best not to create a pattern. I'm just pulling these fabrics out as I see them. Oh, there's another one. Look at him. Super cute. Who looks cuter in their beret, this cat or me? Because, you know, they've got that little red beret on there. Okay, so there's 1 9 patch. If there's an orange one, I put an orange one. If there's a blue one, I put a blue one. You get it. What are the chances of getting 2 like that? Okay, I need another one of these. So each one of these should have 2. Okay, so now let's take this over. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew this one to this one, this one to this one, this one to this one, and we're going to chain piece. Then we're going to sew this unit to this one, this unit to this one, and this unit to this one. And that way we don't have to break the chain. We can just leave these connected when we sew our rows together. Okay, so we're going to remove our free motion foot and put on our patchwork foot. Looks like I came unthreaded, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and now I do want to remember to bring those feed dogs up. And that's just pushing that button again to where it's not recessed. Now, the feed dogs don't come up automatically, but they will when I put my needle down and up or I take my first stitch. See, there they came. I've also switched back to my straight stitch. So now we're going to take my top left chien or chien, that's a dog. My top left le chat, and I'm going to place this right sides together, working with a 1/4 inch. That's why we're using the 1/4 inch foot. And I'm going to lower that down like so. And if we look right here next to those feed dogs, there's a little line right there. That's our 1/4 inch line. So I'm going to move that over just to where the edge of my fabric is right on that line and right up against the right edge of this toe. So see how I'm getting a nice coverage right there of that 1/4 inch seam. And now I'm going to leave my needle down. I sewed right off the edge of my fabric. And now I'm going to take the left side piece and put this orange piece on top, lifting my foot, lining it up, and it's okay to take a couple stitches after we get off of that fabric. And now the bottom left corner fabric and the bottom center fabric go on top of each other. And now I'm going to raise my needle, lift my presser foot, and cut at my thread cutter. Now I'm going to open, let's back out a little bit so you can see. Now I'm going to open these pieces like this. Take this piece and line it up. Stitch off just a little bit. Take my le chat, and put it here. like so. There we go. And now we're going to take this one and place it together. And now we're going to lift our needle, lift and cut. Now we can do a couple different things. We can press away or whatever. I'm just going to finger press. So the top row, I'm pressing the sides this way, and then the middle row, I'm going to press towards the orange, just the opposite of what the top row is. This is going to have our little pieces snuggle butt together nicely, and some people really hate that term. It's a nonsense term. It means a butt, but I say snuggle butt because it sounds friendlier. And then now we're going to place these pieces together and nest them like so. And now we're going to piece this together. Press this, and we need to make another. So we start with the same procedure as before. So here's our 2 9 patches here, and now it's time to attach the back and the front, and of course the front is our cute little embroidered face. So we're just going to take both of these pieces, and I'm going to align this here and stitch with my 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to align this here and stitch. So there's our little kitty. And now we're going to work on the ears and the legs and the arms. So these are the sets that I stitched together, and I tried to make them alike for the arms and the legs, right? But each arm is different and each leg is different. So we're going to take them and put them right sides together like so, and then we're going to cut our template and get our little pattern pieces out of here. Okay, and so then we're going to have a leg, and remember we're making 2 of these, so I'm going to pin it so that I can cut these out. And I'm cutting out on the line. Oops. Okay, so then I just need to cut another arm and another leg, and you'll see by the pattern that it is a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but we leave the tops open for turning them. So to cut out the ear, we need 4. So I just thought I would layer 4 layers of the same fabric. And if you needed, you could pin. I'm going to do this one with the rotary cutter, so I don't like the pin being in the way like that. So I'm just going to lay this down like this. And the same goes for the ears. We're going to take them right sides together, and we're going to leave the bottom for turning. And I do want to take a few stitches, go backwards, and continue. Go slowly around the curve if you need to, using that knee lever to lift and pivot. And then securing at the end. Okay, so when we do the ears, we're going to sew to kind of that point, and we're going to get to that point, but instead of trying to make the world's biggest point, we're going to take like one stitch, and then we're going to come down, and that will help make it look pointier, if you can imagine. Another technique that we could do, and now this is getting really fussy, but we could take a piece of this cord, and now what we're going to do, I'll show you. We're going to sew our piece to about there. We're going to lift our foot. We're going to slip this through there just like that, and we're going to do one stitch. Then we're going to bring this cord around and put it inside our triangle. Take our one stitch and then come down like so. This is a trick I do on collars quite often. Okay, so let me show you why that's awesome. We're also going to take our scissors and cut really close to the edge there, like so. There we go. Now we're going to pull this guy turn it inside out. And look at that perfect ear. And then we can just pull our cord loose, and our ear is perfectly turned. Now, this side, we didn't do that. So I can show you what the difference will be. You just have to be careful to not have blowout. There we go. I mean, that one looks good too, but there's just two ways of doing things. Okay, so there's nothing like a couple little baguette ears, right? So now we just want to, maybe shave just a little bit off these corners. And if you really wanted, you could clip, the little V's out of the curves, but I don't know if I want to go to those lengths. So we're going to turn them inside out. And remember, the longer ones are the legs and the shorter ones are the arms. And then once I turn all of these, we're gonna press them. Okay, so here's the back. And what I want to do first is pin the legs on. And I'm specifically doing this to the back because I want to quilt just my top. So that's the kitty face and all of that. And we're going to do a little bit of free motion work, but not a lot. Okay, so we're going to just pin these. I'm kind of centering the leg over the bottom of the seam. And we're going to go around this with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I have just a little bit of insole bright here, so I'm going to baste about 1/8 of an inch around here like so, and then I'm going to put that 24 foot on. And I know I don't have stitch regulation, but it's a great way to practice my free motion. And I have a little path that I'm going to follow to quilt the bottom of this. But you can do whatever you want. Straight lines will be lovely, whatever you want. Now, one of the things I like about the 335 is that it has presser foot pressure. So if I reduce the presser foot pressure, I won't get as much puckering on my work when I have thick, chunky fabric. So I don't get the amount of drag. So I don't need necessarily for this small project to use a walking foot. Okay, the 24 foot has returned, and now I'm going to put my needle down, bring my needle up to pull that bobbin thread up, and now I'm just going to do a simple little, I call this cathedral windows, but it's really more like an orange peel design. Okay, all done. Now let's sew the back on. Okay, so here is our quilted piece. You can see my little cathedral window style on the back, right? And now we're going to carefully place this on top. And I'm going to sew with the Thermolam stuff on top. Not Thermolam, Insulbright. But we're going to line this up, make everything pretty. So I get this piece on top, and I'm actually going to leave my opening up here to stop and start. So like right here and then right here. So we'll just turn right at the top of the head there. So we're going to give our kitty a little pressing, and then we're going to go around with a top stitch just so everybody is tucked in up here at the top nicely. So this time I'm going to switch to my open toe foot, and I'm going to align my edge with the inside of the toe just there, and I'm not making any other adjustments other than elongating my stitch length to 3.5.
All right, what do you think? Pensez-vous? Isn't it cute? Cute little mug rug for your tea, your coffee, or whatever. And I really enjoyed showing you how to do some manual machine embroidery. And wasn't it fun using that new Bernina 3 series machine? I mean, it's so cute, it's versatile, it works pretty much similarly to my 990. And I also think it might even look like a little mini 990, right? Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you really enjoy our projects that we're doing for our Fat Quarter Club. And I hope to see you again on YouTube. It's easy, you know where to find us, right? It's youtube.com/BERNINA of Naperville. And there you can like, comment, and subscribe. Merci beaucoup.